What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for watching. Welcome to another video. And today I am talking about some of my most unpopular opinions. Now, I will probably do some more that are focused specifically on politics or specifically on employment or things like that. But this is kind of a general list, so it's really not targeted around any specific topic. These are just things that I have found I've gotten a lot of pushback, and most of these are things I did not expect to get pushback on. Also, I just want to let y'all know I do have a blog going at this point. I usually only post once or twice a week, but if you'd like to check that out, I will put information down below and on the screen. So let's get into it. The first one that I find to be unpopular, which I don't get, is that being polite isn't being fake. So let's take me as an example, okay? Let's take my YouTube channel. So one of the reasons I do this is because I love expressing my views and getting into conversations about these things that I talk about on my channel. And of course, since it's my channel and I like being kind of aggressive, I use quite a bit of profanity, as most of you will know if you've watched me. I get kind of aggressive when I'm expressing those views. However, if I were to have a one-on-one conversation, I might not be quite that aggressive. Because I'm a total fraud? No. Because there's a difference between speaking to a little mechanical box and speaking to a person. I don't get why people take issue with this one. Like, it doesn't mean that you're fake. Or for example, let's say you and I are sitting at a restaurant and my server walks away and I make some comments thinking that the service isn't that great. Maybe my server didn't have a great attitude. Maybe they came across kind of rude. Or maybe it just felt like they weren't taking us seriously when we made a complaint about something that was wrong with their food. You know, but then when the server comes back, instead of complaining, you know, I'm friendly, I'm polite, whatever, and I don't make an issue out of it. That's not being fake. That's picking and choosing your battles. That's really all it is. I'm bothered by some things, yes, but I'm understanding enough, or it's not a big enough problem, that I'm not going to make a huge issue out of it and make a scene at this restaurant. That's not being fake. Or take, for example, Trump's tweets, okay? The biggest problem with that is not that, you know, I hate it when people try to make it a First Amendment argument. The issue with that stuff is not an argument of whether or not he has First Amendment rights. The issue is whether or not he should be communicating every single goddamn thought he has with no filter as a United States president. Maybe if he had better thoughts, wouldn't be such a big deal. But every thought that comes to your mind is not necessarily something that you need to say to somebody's face or something that you need to express. Believe it or not, there are times where I've recorded a video and I've gone, I think I went a little overboard in that. I'm not going to post it. Like I said, I'm kind of aggressive on the topics I discuss on this channel, so that might be a little hard to believe, but it's true. There have been times I've watched my own videos and I've been like, that was a little overboard. I don't want to post that. But that's not being fake. That's a matter of trying to have some sense of responsibility in how you're talking to other people and what you're putting out there. Nothing wrong with it. Now even then, there are still plenty of things I do that people would consider very, very impolite, and that's fine. People are entitled to their opinions, that's cool. It doesn't bother me. But I do try to treat people with a general sense of respect that I would want to be treated with. So for example, there have been a few political commentators on this channel that I've criticized, you know, kind of aggressively. But if I were to meet them in person, I might, if they ask me or have the opportunity to kind of push back against some of the ideas that they have, I might do that, but I'm not going to be over the top like I might be in a YouTube video where I'm doing nothing but talking to a camera. It's just different. But apparently there's a lot of people who think that, honestly, I kind of wonder if part of that is just too many people taking YouTube and TikTok and Twitter as real life and not really seeing the difference between real life and talking to a camera. Maybe that's just me. The next one, and this is one I take issue with when it comes to feminist groups. I'm very grateful for the opportunities that feminism has given me. That's great. I'm not complaining about that. But let me just say this, because here's an unpopular opinion. Being unrealistic and uneducated about sex is not being sexually liberated. Please, okay? Please. And I feel like it's becoming really popular. Of course, maybe I spend too much time on TikTok. I don't, maybe with real feminists, not so much. But I feel like it's becoming more popular to treat women like they are not adults who can make decisions around things like sex for themselves. And I don't think that's a positive thing. So, for example, if an 18 or 19-year-old starts dating, you know, a 40-year-old or a 45-year-old or whatever, you know, he's automatically a predator. That's predatory behavior, blah, 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 blah. Well, wait a minute. You're kind of insulting her. What about her intelligence? What about her ability to make her own decisions? And a lot of people will say, well, when I was 18, I didn't know anything. Okay, cool. You know, a lot of us don't, but that's part of life. That doesn't mean adult women shouldn't be treated like adult women. And I don't think people who are 18 or 19 or 20 should be pushed one way or the other. If you don't want to date, then don't date. If you don't want to have sex, then don't have sex. And if you don't want to pursue somebody who's older than you, then don't. You should not be pushed towards any of that. You should make those decisions for yourself. But I'm really not a fan of people who act like adult women can't be treated like adult women. Another argument that I'm really not a fan of, from the pro-choice side. I'm pro-choice myself, but my God, can we at least pretend that we have a brain cell, please? I consented to sex. I didn't consent to being pregnant. Well, excuse me. If you know what sex is, and you know what the consequences can be from sex, then you did consent to the possibility of being pregnant. Otherwise, you were basically admitting that you are not intelligent enough to be engaging in sex. You don't know enough about sex to be having it, if you're really trying to make that argument. It's not cute. Do y'all think it's cute for women to be out here acting like they're idiots when it comes to sex and then still trying to argue that they're sexually liberated? I don't know, man. I don't know. We make fun of that stuff if we see a bunch of conservative groups making arguments that make zero sense or that are just not based on facts at all. So why is it cool when the pro-choice people do it? Now, if you are pregnant and you don't want that pregnancy, I fully support your right to make a choice in that circumstance. But you still consented to something that could possibly result in pregnancy. You're not incompetent. You're not a fool. So stop acting like it. And that's one, I don't care if that's unpopular. Like, that one is just common sense to me. I'm sorry. If you're out here acting like you're sexually liberated, then don't act like you're an idiot about sex, okay? Let's stop the foolishness, please. Now, the next one, I kind of have a mix of emotions on. My next unpopular opinion is that most friendships were never going to last. And a lot of people look at that as like this selfish, you know, giving up too easily kind of an attitude. And that's not really where I'm trying to come from. I find that true friendships where you feel like you have somebody where you can go talk to them anytime you want to about anything, that you can rely on them, that they can rely on you, I think that those friendships are rare. A lot of people, I feel like a lot of people take regular friendships and try to make them those really close-knit friendships. And not every friendship is going to be that, and that's okay. You can't go through life expecting everyone who comes into your life to be someone who's super close to you, who always cares about you, who always feels a responsibility to you, that you always feel a responsibility to. It's just more complicated than that a lot of the times, and that's not a bad thing. In fact, I think it's better for us to embrace it. I'll use myself as an example. Yeah, I might still be connected with a bunch of people that I consider friends on social media, and that's cool. But that's not the same thing as having a real deep friendship where we're talking all the time and you're up to date on what's going on in my life. Because I don't post everything on social media. You know, I'll post when I'm frustrated. I'll post when I, see something that irritates me, or I'm reacting to an article or something. I do stuff like that all the time. But in terms of the nitty-gritty of what's really going on in my life on a day-to-day basis, I don't post all that stuff. So if you're not really in my life, if you're not someone I talk to like every day or every couple days, then you're not really up to speed on what's going on with me. Now, I do have some regrets There are friendships that have fallen apart that I definitely feel were my fault. I definitely feel I could have done more for somebody else. I could have tried more. I could have put in more effort. You know, hindsight's 20/20, and I think it's easy to look back and go, God, I wish I did that differently. But you shouldn't let that mindset control everything that you're doing, and you shouldn't let that mindset keep you from living your life. If you have someone in your life who's always there for you, then yes, by all means, treasure them, respect them, value them, make time for them. But understand that that's not how it's going to be for everyone in your life who's a friend. Some friendships are deeper than others, and that's just how it is. Some friendships aren't going to weather more than 1 or 2 storms, and that's just how it goes. And I think people would be better off accepting that than trying to fix that. But then again, I'm kind of a pessimist. But that's my take on that. The next one. Okay, and this is a big one that gets my blood boiling. Okay, accusing people of sexism and racism when you don't like their argument is a sign of weakness. Clearly, you don't have a better argument. Clearly, you just don't want to have a real conversation about this. Now, sexism and racism exist. Absolutely. And it should be called out when it does. But I am sick and tired of people just throwing those accusations out there like they don't mean anything, and they do, first of all, but also using that as an excuse to not have a conversation. So a good example would be when Ben Shapiro invited AOC to debate him. Okay, I'm not a fan of Ben Shapiro. He is very much a sexist person. I don't care what anybody says. I don't like the guy, okay? I have self-respect. But for AOC to basically refer to that as a way of catcalling her, give me a break. A conversation, honey. He invited you to a conversation to talk about issues, okay? That's what happened. That's what happened. You were not harassed. You're fine. Brush the dirt off your shoulder. Wipe your tears. You're gonna be alright. Another example. I am sick and tired of anti-racist activists because they are the most racist people I've ever had the displeasure of listening to. The fact that they think they can really solve our problems when anytime someone speaks up they don't like, they're like, oh, a white woman shouldn't be talking about that kind of thing. What does the fact that she's a white woman have to do with anything? What's that got to do with anything? Nothing about what they said was racist. If nothing about what they said was racist, you don't get to use their race to tell them that they are racist. That is weakness. That is unintelligent. Stop sprinkling stupid over all of our conversations. You don't have to do that. And it also really minimizes what sexism and racism really is, because those are things that we should have a problem with. And those are things that we should call out. But no, instead we got people out here just throwing those words out there whenever someone is talking that they don't like. And that's what it is. And it's stupid, it's pathetic, it's petty. I have zero respect for it. For any of y'all out there doing that, I have zero respect. Zero respect for you if you're doing that. Period. My next unpopular opinion. Choosing to stay married after an affair is unhealthy and sad. Now, I know. The first thing y'all are going to say, you're not married, what do you know? Okay, I'm not married. And I've known a lot of people who have been through this. So when it comes to someone who's married and the other person has an affair and they feel like it's not the same, there can be plenty of other reasons that they stay. It's not necessarily a matter of feeling like the marriage hasn't changed. And then you also have people who feel like, you know, there was an affair and we were both really hurt by it, and you know, it almost destroyed our marriage, but we came back stronger than ever. I can't relate. Cannot relate. And look, if you are someone who's in that type of marriage and you have overcome it, hey, more power to you. But I would never want to go through that. I would rather never be married in the first place. I don't care about building back, okay? If you destroy this shit, bye. There's no building back, okay? There's no building back. You chose to destroy it. Peace out, motherfucker. And it really, this is one of those where it's like, this is an opinion that's kind of silly to have because I have no intentions of ever getting married. Don't care about it. Not important to me. And anyone who is interested in me that I have a relationship with, look, if you need a piece of paper for this to feel like something real to you, there's the door. Okay, that's how I look at that. But I really do think it's sad that so many people feel like affairs are something they have to tolerate or settle for. I was having a conversation the other day about the concept of open marriages. And if you want an open marriage, more power to you, that's fine, no judgment. But I think it's sad and I think it's kind of wrong that a lot of people are saying they want open marriages when really they're just saying that to avoid being cheated on. If they have permission, I'm not being cheated on. If they have permission, it's not really an affair. And that's such a sad mindset that people have really just resigned themselves to this mentality of, well, you know, I'm never really going to have anyone who's faithful anyways, might as well accept it, so what am I going to do? And another unpopular opinion, which wasn't really on my list, but if your marriage is in shambles and you are miserable and everything's a disaster, it is okay to consider divorce, okay? It is, alright? And my reasoning is not that I don't think marriage should be taken seriously. I think if you're going to commit your life to somebody, then yes, you should take that very seriously. But you should also consider the circumstances. You should also be in touch with reality. And if someone is cheating on you, there's no reason for you to stay in the relationship, whether you're married or not. Okay? I really don't think that's something you should tolerate. You don't have what you had before. Obviously, this is a decision I've never had to make, and I get that. So, you know, some of y'all may just look at this like, you know, well, you don't know what it is to be married, you don't know anything, but I would never be okay with that. And for some of y'all who are okay with being cheated on just so you can stay married, I really wish you had more respect for yourself, because I think you deserve better than that. I really do. The next one. Cat owners do not have less responsibility than dog owners. And a lot of cat owners seem to think this way. They really seem to think that because cats are different than dogs, they just shouldn't have the same level of responsibility. So for example, when it comes to leash laws, a lot of cat owners feel like that should only apply to dogs. Now, of course, there are some leash laws in places that apply specifically to dogs. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and go through any specific laws, but a lot of cat owners make the argument, well, cats are more independent than dogs, which generally is true, yes, but that doesn't mean as a pet owner that you have less responsibility. Another issue is with outdoor cats. Okay, your cat likes to be outside, you like leaving your cat outdoors, whatever. But if your cat wanders into someone else's yard or goes to somewhere that's dangerous and you have this kind of, it's a cat, what do you expect type of attitude about it, I think that's really irresponsible. For example, think about cats who get killed in the road. If you live near a highway, you probably shouldn't let your cat be an outdoor cat. And it really pisses me off when I see dead cats along the highway that are otherwise that otherwise seem healthy and well taken care of. They didn't have to die. They didn't have to be in a situation like that. And aside from my personal opinion of these other pet owners, like, how do you have so little value of your own pet's life? If you love them so much, like, I just don't get it. But in terms of your responsibility as a pet owner, you have just as much responsibility to them as a dog. I don't really care for this, oh, but cats are independent. Okay, but you're taking the cat in as a pet, so act like it. The next unpopular opinion, and this is one I've talked about rather recently, the government is not your best friend. I do not understand, I do not relate to people who think that the government always has their best interests at heart. What? No. 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 Nope. That's a ridiculous thing to believe. I don't get people who are for huge government. I really don't. The government does not belong in every aspect of our life. The government cannot be trusted with any and everything. So if you're not a real small government person, okay, that's cool, whatever. But I don't understand people who actually think it's a positive thing to remove checks and balances, to chip away at those things, just because you want the government to have more power to help people. Come on, that's not how it goes. The government's not your best friend, and I don't get why people think otherwise. The next one, and this is unpopular for obvious reasons, I hate religion. Okay, I think religion is foolish. Come on. All these ancient documents that have been translated and retranslated and specifically changed to, Come on. Alright, apply a thought process, okay? Please. You know, if you think there's something out there and you want to pray, I can somewhat understand that one. But to actually follow churches or mosques or Qurans or Bibles or any of this other stuff, why? And the answers are just nonsensical, because if you start asking really deep questions, the answer is just a matter of people going on faith. And faith is not a bad thing if it's placed in something real. And I just think religion is just not something good. It's used to control people. It takes intelligent people and it makes them less thoughtful, and I don't think that's something positive. The next fucking unpopular opinion, profanity is not that big of a deal, okay? I admit that I try to watch my mouth in front of kids, but the main reason for that is because I don't want to influence them to do stuff that's going to get them in trouble. But that's pretty much the only reason. It's really just a matter of trying to respect parents and not make their job more difficult, okay? Being a parent is difficult enough already. So yes, when I'm around kids, I do try to watch what I say and how I act a little bit more. But when grown adults take issue with profanity, like I've had a few people say on some of my YouTube videos that I should stop using profanity. It's my YouTube channel. Excuse me? Come again? Really? Now at this point in fact, I've had so many people make an issue out of it that I put a viewer discretion advised on my videos for my profanity. Okay? And most videos, I only drop an F or S bomb like 2 or 3, maybe 4 times in a video. Unless I'm really, really heated, I don't even go overboard with it. Like, I'm sorry, but if you are a grown adult, you should be able to handle adult language and adult situations. And profanity is part of that. You don't have to like it. I get that. You're still entitled to your opinion. But the idea that you actually expect people to go, oh, okay, I guess I won't use those words anymore since they bother you if you say something, I don't get that. That's not how that works. Now, I'm not going to get into a whole lot of detail on this next one, but my next unpopular opinion is that cutting off friendships over political differences is lame. Now, I know some of you might be going, well, you're an independent, that's easy for you to say. You know, and I do find myself kind of in the middle of a lot of issues where I'm not really all the way on this side of the issue, or I'm not always on this side of the issue. So maybe for me it is a little bit easier. I don't know. But I just feel like, first of all, if someone votes for somebody, that doesn't mean they agree with every single thing that person has ever said or done. So that mentality to me is a little bit strange. But also, I think there's a difference between genuinely being upset by a belief that a friend of yours is expressing and looking for trouble, if that makes sense. Okay, if you have a friend, now there are some exceptions, okay? So if your friend expresses a view that is explicitly racist, okay, and they seem to think that it's okay and you shouldn't have a problem with it because that's their political beliefs, no, you don't necessarily have to respect that. You don't necessarily have to go, oh, well, I'll be your friend anyways. So there may be some circumstances, yes, where I would say, okay, I can see why you would have ended that friendship. But for the most part, I feel like it's not those things. It's so much as saying that you voted for somebody and people are just like, oh, I can't have anything to do with you now. And that's ridiculous. If you're looking for trouble, you're gonna find it. But also, if you want your friends to only be made up of people who think exactly the way you think on every single issue at all times, then I think you're going to have a pretty small circle of friends, and I think you're going to miss out on some really great people. Obviously, who you're friends with is your own personal choice and your own personal decision. You don't have to justify anything to me, but that's just my take on it. I think it should be I think ending a friendship should have to do more with someone expressing views that you don't like. The next unpopular opinion, piercing your child is wrong, okay? If your child is a baby, why are you doing that? Like, and I know people will say, oh, well, piercing their ears only hurts for like a little bit. Okay, first of all, when I got my ears pierced when I was like 13 or something, like my ears were throbbing like all day. As far as the pain of the actual pierce, yes, that only lasts a little bit. But, like, it can be very painful. And then, of course, actually the reason I let my holes close up is because of how many issues I had afterwards. It's hard to keep it from not getting infected. It itched a lot. That's a lot for a 13-year-old to deal with, let alone a baby who has no control over the situation. Your kid is not an accessory, okay? They're not an accessory. They're a human being. And if they cannot consent to something like that, then you shouldn't be doing it. If your kid is old enough, like 13, where they can at least have a conversation with you, in my opinion, that's a little bit different. And I think that kids should be able to do that if they want to with parental consent. But at that point, they at least understand what's happening, and they're agreeing to it. It's their body. They should be able to have a say in that. If your kid is not old enough to have a say in that, then they shouldn't be pierced. You should not put your kid through any piercing, any needles, any medical procedures whatsoever that are not necessary. And it's not just a matter of the initial pain in the moment. Just about anything you do to a body can have side effects that were not intended or are rare, but they still happen. So why would you put your kid through any type of risk at all just to make them look cute for you? I don't get it. And a lot of parents would push back on that and say, hey, I'm a parent, I should be able to make this choice. But that's just how I feel about it. I feel like if your kid is not old enough to consent to this, then they shouldn't have to go through that. They shouldn't have to put up with that pain just for your sake. I think that's really petty. And my next one I've talked about a lot on this channel, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but more of us should be independents, okay? The Democrats and the Republicans, they let us down time and time again. Our two-party system absolutely sucks. But if we don't get some balls, if we don't let these third parties rise up and have some real competition among the candidates, we're never going to see change. So if you're not happy with the Republicans, if you're not happy with the Democrats, I would really encourage you to consider voting third party. I get why a lot of people feel like they never will. I understand some of the reasonings. Why should I vote for someone that doesn't have a chance of winning? That kind of thing. But with each election, if more and more people vote third party, those third parties can rise up. Next thing you know, we have 3 solid parties, all of which might have a chance of winning. Next thing you know, we have 4. We need to see some real competition, but if we're not showing up at the polls, if we're not showing up at the booths, then what we want doesn't matter. And that's not how it should be. So if you're not happy with the 2 parties and the 2-party system, then please consider doing something to actually change it. And that is all I have for this video. If you enjoyed this video, half this video, or even a quarter of this video, please hit the like button and don't be afraid to subscribe.